Happy Magical Monday. Today's book talk is about the side stories from the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. First, I want to talk about the novella, The Slow Regard of Silent Things, which you can purchase as a book. It's only about 150 pages, I think 158 or so pages. And then I'll also talk about the short story, How Old Holly Came to Be, which I believe you can get online. In the Kingkiller Chronicle, so far, Patrick Rothfuss has given us book 1 and 2, The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. There is a side character named Ori, A-U-R-I, Ori, however you want to pronounce it. She's a fascinating character. She is a person who clearly has gone through some sort of traumatic experience, probably abuse of some kind, and there's something going on with her that's mysterious from her past. She lives under the city that has the university in it. So she is living in the under university, in the tunnels that provide the sewer system and that sort of thing beneath the university. When I found out about The Slow Regard of Silent Things, I said, wow, I've got to read this because the character is so very interesting, and I was hoping to learn more about her secrets, her life, what she does, and the book does explore, the daily life of this character. Though I will say, Patrick Rothfuss provides a kind of disclaimer at the beginning of the book saying this is not an ordinary book. It doesn't have a typical sort of plot. So I do want to warn you ahead of time. Patrick Rothfuss himself warns this novella is basically just a long short story, kind of meanders. So it is a character story, kind of a long character sketch, and you get to see her explore the tunnels and deal with stuff in her own life and how she thinks of things. But there's not really a lot of plot. You're not going to come across the typical story elements that you would have in a full novel. But I definitely feel that it's worth reading. On Goodreads, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which looking back might have been a little generous. It's probably more of a 3.5 star read. But at the time that I read it, I was so hyped about Patrick Rothfuss and the Kingkiller Chronicle that I guess I was super excited to finish it. There's not a whole lot that I can say about it without giving you spoilers, other than I believe that fans of the Kingkiller Chronicle will want to read it. If you have not read the Kingkiller Chronicle, you might not want to pick it up because you might just be like, why am I reading these random underground adventures of this random girl? Though I would be fascinated to hear from someone who has not read the main books and just read this in isolation, because it is a fascinating character as she explores beneath the city. And it's more than just sewer tunnels down there. It turns out there's the ruins of a whole city, like a palace or kingdom that was down there from before the university existed, or perhaps the older version of the university that over time ended up underground. It is fascinating, all the treasures, baubles, and such that are down there that she explores and comes in contact with. But if you were hoping to have a story that gives you more development about the main characters in the Kingkiller Chronicle, this is not going to be that for you. The other story that I want to talk about today is a short story called How Old Holly Came to Be. It is another weird one where, again, Patrick Rothfuss offers a bit of a disclaimer that it's not your traditional kind of story, but I love it as a fantasy story. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I feel like with these shorter works, Patrick Rothfuss has not spent a decade refining the rhythm on the language that's in the text, which is why it takes him so long to produce his books, because he really does go through and refine the language to what he feels is perfection. And I think with the shorter works that he needed to get them out at a deadline, and so while there is a great sense of rhythm and it is fun to read, to me it just doesn't achieve that higher level that you get with The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. But like I was saying, How Old Holly Came to Be is a fun fantasy story. You got the story of a tree and a woman who lives near the tree, and the woman ends up being in danger, and so in fun fantasy form she finds a way to magically turn the tree into a person who that can help fight off evil and defend her. What a fun concept. What an interesting little story. It's very short. I think it was somewhere around 11 to 15 pages. It came in as my shortest read of the year on Goodreads this year because I want to log that I've read these stories, but they join in and make it look like I've read a whole nother book on Goodreads, which is not my intention to try and just add to my book count, but it does. It does end up doing that. If you've got a few minutes of time to spare, I would recommend the story just because it's fun and interesting, and you don't have to know anything about the King Killer Chronicle in order to read it. That's the book talk for today. I hope that you enjoyed this magical Monday. When you join me next week, I promise I will move beyond Patrick Rothfuss. I will talk about other fantasy authors and fantasy works. I mean, this is it. Until he releases Doors of Stone, I don't have any more fantasy works by him to talk about. Or I guess unless he wants to release some more short stories or novellas for us in the meantime. It's been an awesome book talk. Join me next time. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.